911. What is your emergency? This is 911 emergency. What is your
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Speak Dispatch. On today's topic, we're going to be talking about backup centers in different unique places that maybe you've dispatched from in the past. We've got our normal people joining us today with Doug and John, and we also got a very special guest in Jill. Jill, welcome to We Speak Dispatch.
Hey, I'm excited to be here today. It's going to be a fun day.
Awesome. Go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody watching today.
I'm Jill. I currently live in California, but I spent 10 years at a dispatch center in Maryland.
Oh, nice. Both sides of the country. Very nice. Well, today we decided to speak about backup centers and dispatching from unique places. And I do have a few stories. Most of them revolve around tragedy, so I will share those, but they are kind of tragic events, unfortunately. But dispatching at other 911 centers, and I'll get to those eventually. But I'm just going to start with a question. I like to do that and engage with the hands up. So at the dispatch centers that you either currently work at or used to work at, how many of you had a separate backup PSAP that you could easily just go to and was always live? You had to do nothing to it to bring it up.
Ours wasn't always live. We just had to flip a switch.
So, okay, you could kind of raise the hand then. Okay. I noticed Doug and I's hands are staying down. So it's always interesting to know who has a tested and backup one. John, since you raised your hand, why don't you tell us a little bit about your backup PSAP?
So initially it was exactly like Jill was. We had to do a whole bunch of flip and switches and kind of like the old Frankenstein, put a lever down and then it goes. Now we're fortunate and our backup center is live 24/7.
Nice.
Wow. Nice.
So it's just a matter of signing in the systems and taking over.
Yeah, what's interesting in our county is we have multiple PSAPs on the same system, and they now back us up. So they're constantly up. We're constantly up as well. And if we were to go down, we could just, they're not even very far from us. We just drive a little ways and we sign on to our own system as if it's up all the time.
Do they use the same codes and everything that you do?
To sign on to the CAD, yes.
Oh, they don't dispatch units for you?
No, we just share a CAD. It's a shared resource CAD.
So they see your units and you see theirs.
Yeah, if we define the agencies to do that.
If you define, okay. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So Jill, why don't you tell us a little bit about your backup PSAP?
Our backup was actually a property that the county had acquired, and it was an old movie theater. So it was fun. It was fun because it was a movie theater I'd gone to when I was in high school. So and 15, 20 years later, I get to go back to the same place, and they converted it into like a county facility that's got like two of the theaters. I think it's two of the theaters are like conference rooms where you put on the projector, and then you've got the theater seating.
Wow.
And then the EOC. And the EOC is actually located where the concession stand was. So
nice.
Compared to the size of the building, our backup center was actually kind of tiny. It wasn't very big at all, and it housed 3 different agencies if it was ever needed. So it was nice. I liked it. It was fun going there. It was always a fun break from our regular center. It was just go someplace else different, have a different scenery for a little while, and
that is neat.
Huh?
I said that is neat. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you find snow caps or juji fruits?
No, they didn't sell candy. No candy and soda.
So, Doug, why don't you take us down a road and tell us one of the strangest places you've ever dispatched from?
Well, we didn't have a backup center, so we had command post vehicles, big huge RV type things. But I'll tell you the best one that dispatching through a different place. Our building that we were in was found to have termites and bad. It was causing like major problems to our building. So they said, we have to tent it and we're going to move you to another center. And then they realized you don't have another center. So I said, okay, can we at least get like maybe one of the command post vehicles to drive down here and set up in our parking lot? And they said, no, they're not really equipped to handle that kind of stuff. And so I'm thinking about it. And finally I came up with the idea. I said, what about those construction trailers you see at the construction lots, those little mobile home type
Oh
things?
yeah, yeah, the
I said,
double
can we get
wides.
one of those and put it in the parking lot and run the wires from the comm center out in the driveway to that thing? It took several months of logistics, but we did it. We brought in this trailer into our driveway. It was an old construction trailer. Put it out there. We moved several of the workstations into this thing, and we dispatched there for about a week and a half. And for being odd and just really weird, it really was fun. We did have a good time in there because everybody was basically on top of each other. It was so small, but it was funny because we got everything in there, and then we realized, well, we don't have any like computers for the supervisors to do any work on. So we basically were just sitting in there watching people like, hi. There was really nothing left us to do. And then the worst part was when the building was just about done, they took the tent off. They said, okay, it's just about done. We're going to need somebody to walk around the building with the termite people, whatever they are.
Terminate.
I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm not going to do it. Send one of the other people. And they said, oh, no, Doug, you're the only supervisor here. So come on, let's go inside. I'm like, it's got poison gas in there. And the guy's like, it's pretty much gone now. And I'm like, pretty much gone? I'm like,
So you dispatched out of a trailer.
yeah, well, it was weird. And the funny thing was, our trailer was maybe 10 feet from the comm center.
Yeah.
So we could see the building and see it was all tented, but
Yeah.
we were like, God, I hope nothing leaks in this thing.
But did the termites get to the trailer, or did they stay?
No, they did not.
Okay.
But the worst part was they had to bring in portable bathrooms, these two up on trailers outside of the little trailer thing we had. And the first day we were out there, somebody came in and said, Doug, you might want to go look outside. And I'm like, oh God. They had forgot to put like a cap on the bathrooms. So whatever was going, the water would just come straight through and go into our driveway. It was like
I would hold it for the ship.
Oh man.
yeah, well, it
And
was not pleasant. Not a pleasant situation.
for me, we
Cross
also
my legs
dispatched.
tighter and tighter.
We also dispatched out of a trailer one time, Doug, myself. Our agency went through mud jacking, and that's where they drilled holes in the cement. They pumped like a mixture down through the hole and had to raise our walls. Our walls of our building were sinking. It was sitting over a stream or a creek or something like that. And so they came in with these jackhammers and jackhammer holes down through the floor right outside the dispatch door, and we couldn't hear. So we had to run the cord similar to you. We got our emergency trailer, and we dispatched certain shifts out of there for a few weeks at a time. But that's still, I'll share one of the two tragic stories real quick for a different place that I dispatched at. At the same agency, a small agency just to our south, we were the backup PSAP for them. And then fortunately, they had a person that worked at their agency shoot and kill a significant other, and then called 911 and shot and killed himself after he called 911. And I don't know if both of them worked there. I think both of them worked at the county 911 center, either as a jailer or as a deputy. And so our sheriff called me on the phone and said, do whatever it takes. They need to do debriefing and go to the wakes and the funerals, and our agency will staff that agency. So I drove down there as the manager of my center at the time, and I met him. And I had never used their CAD system before, never used their phone system before. Now, they were a small PSAP, which was beneficial. They were a one-person PSAP. So I say it was beneficial because usually they're not as busy. But the problem is when they are busy, they're really, really busy.
Yeah.
For one person, yeah.
Yeah. And so they did let me work a couple shifts down there by myself. And I ended up taking a medical call. And one of the things about backup PSAP that I think personally is really important is for 911 dispatchers to have some kind of emergency medical dispatch training, because you could do emergency medical call taking from anywhere. So Jill, were you guys emergency medically trained at your center?
No, we had the fire department. We transferred this call to the fire department.
Oh, you
As soon as you said you needed anything medical, it was like, hold on for the transfer.
Okay. And John, what about you guys?
Yeah, we're emergency medical trained. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so then I take this medical call at that backup PSAP, and then I still had to page it out to the volunteer firefighters and the ambulance, and I had very little
Mini-4
training.
pager tones.
So I was just hoping on their CAD system. I was like, please address verify, because if it verified on the phone or the radio or the CAD system that they were using, it told you at least which agencies to send. Well, then when dispatching, I didn't know if they used balance of alarm. Was it a first alarm, second alarm, medical alarm? I didn't know if they just said we got a medical call. So I just went to straight talk and just said we got a medical call for this reason and that reason. And luckily they went, and everything worked out extremely well on that. So
wake up, go.
I've never dispatched for a volunteer fire department. Do they have radios with them at all times?
This was about 10 years ago, it was more than that, about 15 years ago. And they have pagers. So you do it and you send out a page, and it goes off on the pager, and then they turn on their radio when they're en route to the fire station to get additional information, and then they respond from their local firehouse is sometimes how it works for volunteers.
Wow. Well, I do have another one. We, way back, I'm going to date myself, but way back in the early 90s, I worked in downtown Los Angeles, and we had the riots down there. That's when that was when Rodney King situation occurred in LA, and we had all that stuff going on. And I had been on probably about 2.5 years. They put me on one of the tactical frequencies where we had, probably 70 officers on our radio that we had to keep track of, because our officers provided security for fire departments because they were shooting at the fire departments.
Oh.
So we would escort their trucks out to the scene of something and take care of business if we had to. So I'm on the radio in this thing, and they gave me these units that they called them, well, we had Adam, Boy, and Charles and David units. Each radio had about 60 or 70 officers on that screen. And I had one that was A12, and it was Adam 12, and I wanted so bad to call him out, but the guy never spoke the whole time. It was like, I was so mad. I wanted to say 1 Adam 12, copy, but they didn't in the old TV show Adam 12. But we did learn a lot of stuff during that time, because I remember when we got notified about the verdicts for the officers and this whole thing was going to start. And they said, we're probably going to be having some situations occur down here. The National Guard showed up at our office. They were they went around the building. We had our big command post van, which at that time was an old motorhome. An old, had shag carpet motorhome. Really bad. So we go out to get this thing fired up, and the battery is dead on the damn thing. We never fired it up for a long time.
Oh my gosh.
So we had to get AAA to come out there and jump this thing in the parking lot. It was very embarrassing because the AAA guy was like, what are you guys getting ready for? Nothing. We couldn't really tell him.
So if you had to
get through,
if you had to give the people listening one piece of advice, either about a backup center or dispatching somewhere else, you pick your topic. And John, we'll start with you. If you could give the people listening one piece of advice about a backup center or dispatching somewhere else, what would you tell the people listening today?
Know where the power button is.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Turn it on.
Let's make certain the wires are connected and the lights go from red or amber to green.
Wow.
Jill, what's something you would tell them?
I'm kind of with John on that. You want to making sure that all your systems are a go before everybody because when ours would flip, you would have the people at the center, and then you'd have the people at the back center, and then you'd have somebody calling this other agency saying, okay, flip the switch. But you got to make sure everybody's in the same place at the same time and making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be before somebody makes that phone call. Otherwise, it's like, okay, we're ready. Oh, no, nobody's already over here. So, yeah, just making sure everybody communicates.
Yeah.
Especially with all that.
Doug, what's one thing you'd say, Doug?
I'd probably give them two things. Put the cap on the bathrooms, but I would also say, if you're a supervisor, somebody in a leadership role, you've got to show confidence that it doesn't matter where we dispatch for, we're still going to be okay doing it. Because when we've been to different places and the CAD goes down or the phones don't work or whatever, it's like you got to power through. This is what dispatchers do the best.
Yeah.
Dispatch through adversity, no problem. And you have to not start screaming, oh my God, this doesn't work or that's not working. You have to say, you know what, we'll make it work. We'll get this thing going. That's what's I've noticed when dispatchers, no matter where they are around the country, they can get stuff working no matter what. It's
Yeah.
give me
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
a light bulb. We'll get it.
And my piece
Yeah,
of
we
advice
may-
would. Oops, go ahead, John. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. We may not like it, but in the end, we get the job done.
Yeah. That's right.
Absolutely. And my piece of advice as we're wrapping this episode up is just to make sure that you're planning ahead. And what I mean by that is
Mhm.
we know at some point we're going to probably have to do an upgrade or take down our phones or take down our computer or whatever it might be, and plan for that to happen so that you're ready when it happens, whether it's expected or unexpected. So
Yeah.
always make sure you're ready and have a backup plan, even if it's pen and paper. And also understand that your backup plan might need to be the fact that you need to go somewhere else because of smoke and or fire. Sometimes, a lot of times we say we're going to have backup plans and go to pen and paper, or we'll have backup CAD cards, but maybe we have to leave the building we're in, and making sure you can do that in a quick fashion. Any
Yeah.
closing thoughts from anybody else?
Yeah, I just want to say something that we had a big problem out here. We obviously have earthquakes in California, and we used to prepare for those things by putting these big plastic bins under the floors because they were false floors. And we found that nobody can be able to pick those things up if we had an emergency. So what we started doing is trash bins that are on wheels, and we put that in the radio room with all the stuff in it, all the backup stuff, phones, batteries, all that stuff in there. That way, if anything happens to our building, you can wheel that thing out. Anybody can wheel it outside, and it's such a great save. We did this several years ago, and it worked so wonderfully to have this thing sitting there, and anybody can grab it and go out the door and dispatch in a parking lot if you have to. So
That's awesome.
guys, be ready.
Yeah, that reminds me of having a go kit
Oh yeah,
and it's not just for, I mean, for any discipline in which you dispatch. So maybe a separate go kit for call taking, then a separate one for police dispatch, and different for fire dispatch, just because each discipline uses different resources. So when we think of a kit, I'm not necessarily thinking something with a hardback plastic cover, but even just a backpack. But obviously that requires someone knowing where the heck it is.
and updating it periodically. So
True.
Yeah.
True.
So we want to thank everybody for watching this episode on the strangest places you've ever dispatched from and backup plans for PSAPs. And if you have any questions, comments, make sure you leave them down below. And you can also email us at wespeakdispatch@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this
See you
episode.
later.
See you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I know.